Hi, welcome back to my reading corner. Get your cozy blanket and maybe a pillow, or both, and let's read. We've been reading When the Dandelions Sing, and today we're on chapter 12, Counting Plates. Put on your tie, Jasper, is all I kept hearing all morning. We're leaving soon to visit your mamma, Grammy was telling me. I knew we were seeing mamma, but still I didn't want to wear a stupid tie again. I wore one when Granddad died, and now I had to wear a tie all over again. Why? It made no sense. Mamma didn't care if I had a tie on. She'd just be glad to see me. But Grammy insisted, so I wore the dumb tie. I was trying to figure out this letter I wanted to write. It had been several months now since we had seen our mamma, and that was only supposed to be for a few weeks. So much had been going on that Mamma missed, and I wanted to write about it. I wanted to write about the year since Granddad had passed. Still, I had a lot of trouble with addressing it, so I skipped the name part for now and went to the writing of the actual letter. I would need to come back to that, though, because it was getting to be the time to head to Mum's car she had left behind. Excuse me. It was the only way for us all to have seats and travel safely. Grammy had Granddad's old pickup truck, and although she would still let us sit in the bed of that truck on short trips into town, this was not one of those times. When we all piled in, Davy was pretty quiet. It wasn't like him to just sit in silence, but he was, and I just let him be. We hadn't experienced the Reds winning the series yet, that magical night where we finally connected. Seeing Mama was a few months before our time of high-fiving, so I was still treading lightly with Davy. Janet seemed happy, but then again, she always seemed happy. I know she missed seeing Mama around the house, but she always hid how she felt more than the rest of us. I couldn't hide my excitement ever. Davy wore his heart on his sleeve as well, but certainly not Janet. She was a cool cucumber and always making the peace whenever she had the chance. Thelma Louise, well, she was down. She talked very quietly with Grammy in the front seat. I could not hear from the back seat of the car, partially because Mama's car was loud and probably needed a new muffler any day now, but also because Grammy and Thelma Louise didn't want us to hear their conversation. It was theirs, so I figured it was none of my business. I saw Davy straining to hear. He would slide up in his seat a little at a time so as not to be noticed. No one seemed to notice, or maybe they did and they just didn't care. I'm not sure if he heard anything, but if he did, it didn't improve his mood one bit. The ride was much longer than our rides into town. We had to cross over the Ohio border, and so Grammy told us to just relax and look out the window and enjoy the nature God had provided for us. There wasn't much to see, in my opinion, other than trees and some mountains along the way. Janet came up with an idea, and I thought it was great. We would see how many different state license plates we would find on the way there, and then how many we could find on the way back. Davy wasn't interested in playing, and so Janet and I started. Of course, Pennsylvania was the easiest. We were still in the state, so that one would be on both lists we made. Janet wrote them in the journal she was carrying with her, and I was looking as closely to each car as I could. I discovered that big trucks, the 18-wheelers, as Grammy called them, had mostly all out-of-state plates. The first one I saw was Wisconsin, and so I shouted that to Janet. "Janet, look! Wisconsin!" "Ronnie, good one! Keep looking! Let's see how many we can find," she said. Davy was just sitting there, his elbows on his knees and his head propped in his hands, and I didn't know what to make of it. Why didn't he want to play with us? This was a good way to pass the time, but he had no interest whatsoever. We were also, more importantly, going to be seeing Mama for the first time in a very long time, and here he was sulking. Still, he clearly was trying to listen to what Grammy was talking about with Thelma Louise, and so again, I just let him be. "Ronnie, look, Vermont!" That is a good one. It's the other way. So they must be traveling like us. Wow. Who would have thought there were so many different states with so many uniquely colored license plates? This was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Who knows? Maybe we would find them all if we drove long enough and kept going all the way through Ohio. Janet, how many different license plates are there? I asked. Well, there are enough for each state, and then some for other countries too. I don't expect to see any of those, but we may see a lot of the state ones. Do you know how many states there are, Ronnie? She asked. No, he does not. He has no idea of how many states there are. Do you, Ronnie? Davy said in his sarcastic voice. Ignore him, Ronnie. It's okay. There are 50. 50 states. They'll teach you all about them in school soon, Janet calmly said, back as she shot a quick glare towards Davy. Wow, I couldn't believe it. 50 states? That was a lot. More than I had even thought. My guess would have been maybe around 12 or something more like that, but I wasn't going to tell them that now. I knew how many there were after Janet told me, so I just pretended I did know and went back to searching for more plates. Every few minutes for the first half hour, we were finding new states, and Janet was writing them down, one at a time. She was letting me find most of them, so she could write and focus on that. We found Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, and Maryland. Then came Illinois and Texas, and right behind that, on one of them big 18-wheelers, came Montana. I had never heard of Montana, so that was fun for me. There were no baseball teams there in Montana. Maybe that's the reason I had never heard of it. Either way, it was on a massive truck we passed, so it must be a state. By the time we got over the border and into Ohio, we were getting a little restless. It had been a while since we were on a trip like this, and my legs were growing numb. Plus, I had to pee. Grammy, are we close? I really have to pee, I said. She just kept driving on and didn't answer me back. I was unsure if she heard me over the noise of the muffler. Excuse me. But not wanting to bother her, I just waited and held it in as best I could, squeezing my hands between my legs that were already pressed together tightly. Janet looked over and told me it couldn't be much further. We had to be getting close, she figured. I mean, really, how big could Ohio be? I knew the Reds played there, but didn't know much else. It was flat, real flat. Driving on that road, sometimes we would hit a bump, and I could feel my bladder dancing inside me like a Mexican jumping bean. Finally, I could take no more. Grammy, I think I'm going to pee my pants. I really got to go. Davy yelled that I better not pee in the car, and finally Grammy took the car, reared it off to the shoulder, and brought it to a complete stop. I need to stretch my legs, Grammy began. You all should get out and stretch. We're almost there, but it's good to get that blood flowing some. Jasper, you can go over into those there weeds and pee. No one will see you. The cars are going way too fast to even be bothered by us here, she finished. Davy made a joke about how no one wanted to see me anyway, and Grammy told him to hush his mouth. And he did. I walked over to the edge of the road, found a cleared spot where I could take a few steps in, away from the shoulder we had pulled over on, and looked around. All I saw was some soda cans lying around in the weeds, some crumpled up newspapers caught by the tall grass, and a million cigarette butts scattered throughout. I guessed peeing on those would do nothing. I imagined they were all lit and sprayed my pee all over the ground, putting each out as I sprayed. My mind was always searching for something out of nothing. When I had finished, At least in my mind, extinguishing all the fires, I zipped my pants back up, looked out for a second at the field, and wondered what would be there when I grew up. Would it be a field still, as it was now, untouched, pure, innocent? Or would some big company come in and build a large brick building that people with ties and fancy dresses would work in? Granddad always had me thinking about that kind of stuff. What he saw once and what he saw later were entirely different pictures, and it bothered him some. Would this bother me if something were built all the way out here on the side of some road in Ohio? Perhaps, I figured. Perhaps. But I had only a moment to think because Janet was calling me back to the car, telling me we were about to leave once again, with or without me. So I scampered back over the weeds and shoulder into the back seat once again, and once we were on our way, heading to see Mama. Back on the road, Grammy began to talk. Listen up, McFarlanes. When we get there, you stay with Grammy, you hear? Your Mama will be in a room on the 3rd floor, but there are a lot of people there, and, well, it's better you just stick with me, okay? Also, Mama is going to be sleepy. She has to take her medications, and because of that, she sleeps a lot. So it's okay to hug her and talk to her. She may not be very talkative, just until, she comes home. Davy asked, Grammy, is she coming home soon? I don't know, David. I really am not sure. I know she wants to come home, just as soon as she is well enough, but she needs time. Mama wants to be back to her very best self, so that when she comes home, she'll be able to take care of you like a mama should. So it may be some more time, but know that she is working towards that. All right, David? Davy crouched back into his seat and said nothing. He wasn't happy with that answer, and so I wasn't either. My concept of time was different than his, and I truly felt Mama was coming home in a few days. Davy, he had felt it may be a lot longer, if ever. This bothered him and scared him and me. Janet saw Davy was feeling down and just put her left arm around him and whispered something into his ear. Pulled away slightly, still looking at him, she smiled. He didn't seem to notice, nor did he move. Whatever she had said didn't help, but at least she was trying. Janet looked over to where I was and smiled warmly. I smiled a little back, but I was now feeling like I just wanted to cry instead of smile. My eyes were getting the watery feel to them, and I was having trouble seeing without things being blurry. Janet told me to look out for more license plates, but I couldn't see well now. Everything was just a blurry mess as I tried to hold those warm tears back. Pretending as if I were looking out the dirty window once again, I fooled Janet. Or at least, I think I did. When we veered off the highway, Grammy drove down a long, windy road. There were no houses in sight, just overgrown evergreen trees for as far as I could see. The road was wide at first, but then closed in, almost as if it were one lane towards the end. At the top of the road, just beyond all those evergreen trees we had passed, stood a large, black gate with fancy lettering on the top. I couldn't read it, but knew Janet could tell me later on what the words were. There stood a man in uniform at the entrance to the gate, and he motioned for us to drive over to him. The gate already appeared to be half open, but maybe it was because it wouldn't shut. It was old, the paint fading and chipping away, and looked like it could fall at any time now. Ma'am, the man began, how can I help you? Hi, we are here to see Dolores McFarlane. We have an appointment already in place, Grammy responded, kindly, but trying to sound as professional as she could. The man was looking right at Grammy, and then he panned his eyes around the car, looking at each of us closely, then back at Grammy. These all her kids, ma'am? Yes, she replied. We are all here to see her, the kids and me. They haven't seen her in some time, and it's been a long drive, so if you do not mind, we would like to get on in there, she said, this time a little more sternly and impatient. The man in the uniform jotted something down on his board he held in his hand and took out his walkie-talkie and spoke into it. 5 coming in. 1 woman with 4 little kids. All 5 to see Dolores McFarland. After a few seconds, a scratchy voice came back to this man and told him to send them on through. Roger that, the man replied. Okay, ma'am. You're going to drive through the gate and veer left as you get to the fountain. From there, you will park in the lot marked A, and then a man will meet you at the entrance closest to the lot. He can take you to see Dolores and ensure you are all safe. As the gate opened, I grew nervous. What did he mean, ensure we were safe? Why would we not be safe? It was only Mama we were here to see. I didn't like how the man said that, and grew even more nervous. My stomach got those knots you get when you're anxious, chasing a fly ball, and my throat felt as if it were closing in on me. Maybe I should have waited until Mama was back home to see her. I guess that's the end of the chapter. I'll read that last sentence again. My stomach got those knots you get when you're anxious, chasing a fly ball, and my throat felt as if it were closing in on me. Maybe I should have waited until Mama was back home to see her. Well, that's the end of the reading for today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow for the next chapter. Bye.